Well, in 2018, he ended up passing away at 26 years old.
Yeah.
Such a young age with someone who was on top of the world, like you said, like platinum songs and touring 300 days a year. Like he was really at the top of that game. When you heard about his death, how did you feel?
Oh man, when I heard that Tim passed, I cried a lot. I was really sad, and it was really unexpected because in the most recent communication with him and most recent understanding of his transformation, there was no indication that he was in a tough space. And I guess that's what a lot of folks who are had substance abuse and are recovering, they say it's one day at a time. And for me, I felt like, man, what could I have done? Where was I in being there for him and reaching out to him during that time? But then after talking to his parents and talking to other friends and other musicians who were working with him, he really was on the other side. He was in a bright space. He was in a peaceful and content space. So whatever happened within that week, within that 48 hours, within that 24 hours, is something that nobody knows, and it really hit me hard.
Yeah. According to reports, he died from suicide with a self inflicted injury with a broken wine bottle. And he eventually just died from blood loss. Uh,
Yeah,
it's really a
I
very,
can't imagine what he was going through that would lead him to that moment. And I'm sorry that there was no one there with him. But he was a free spirit. He would travel around the world on his own whenever he wanted, at his leisure. He had the money to do it. He had the time to do it. And in the past, there was no fear. In his darkest moments when we were there was no fear of, of this happening. So of course, in this new moment in his life, there was no indication. And so I just, you know, I feel like you really have to be going through something very tough to get to the point where you want to harm yourself and allow yourself to pass away.
yeah, especially being on top of the world like that. Uh, really was at the very top of the world.
Yeah, he was, but that stuff didn't matter to him. Like there was so much more for him that mattered than his status in the music business, and of course, that plays into his ability to have access to a lot of ears, and but then there's the pressure of making sure that what you do next is going to be um, met with the same um, respect and love. And I don't know that pressure played into any of the reasons why he ended up taking his life. I feel like there were probably there are other things that were going on that I wasn't clued into. Certainly, you see in the documentary the kind of pressure that he was up against with the infrastructure that he was in, the team that was controlling his career, and those pressures I don't think ended immediately after he left. They were still kind of there in the background. Um,
Yeah, well, I'm sorry for your loss, man. Uh, Such a talent and who left behind such amazing music that you were a part of. Did that make you kind of, look at life and your career differently after he passed?
oh, I certainly took a totally different perspective on what it means to be a superstar, what it means to be in the music business. It sort of reaffirmed my desire to not be managed. And I tried. With the company that helped me get signed to Interscope, which was XIX, Simon Fuller, who created the Idol, uh, um, uh, the American Idol, the Pop Idol, that whole franchise. he's an amazing human being, very helpful and very uh, genuine. But within his organization, he didn't have time to focus on me directly. So there were day managers, and I felt like I needed something more. And so when I left that organization, I'm self-managed for a few years. And then at Interscope, I started to feel like I'm not able to do the things that I want to do as an artist because I'm not getting honest answers from the people in the company. They don't want to upset me, so they won't tell me exactly how they feel. I think I need a middleman. So I moonlighted with a couple of different management companies. But still, I didn't feel like I was getting the kind of service that I needed. So, I doubled back and went back to self-management, and that's where I am now. And I feel like with this, and in the wake of Avicii's death, being able to manage my time and find where and how to be a father, to be a husband, to be a producer, to be a musician, to be an activist, I have control of that. And, it could be to the detriment of my business. It could be because I spend more time with my family than I do working on my social media game. So be it. I'm not in a position where I'm trying to figure out how to put food on the table. I'm okay. So if I can use my music, if I can use my voice to be instructive and inspiring and effective in politics and activism, then maybe I'll put my music time into activism instead of into music. And I'll spend more time with my family and raising my kids so that they know who their dad is and they can see that I'm present, and be there for my wife, because why else would you be married if you can't be there for your wife? These kind of things are important to me. And so, I do find time to do music, but for sure it's like, if the kids are in school, I'm doing music from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, or from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. When they get out of school, I'm home so we can make dinner, have bath time, read books, put them to bed, and then spend some time with my wife. And if she allows me to go out, I can go play again. I can do a night session from 8 p.m. to midnight, and that's how I found a way to make this work. And looking at how my relationship with Avicii was, and ultimately the pressures that he was under, I want to take cue from how not to be under that much pressure, how not to be under that much stress.
Well, you dropped the Lift Your Spirit album in 2014. It debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 charts. And you got a Grammy nomination for the Best R&B album.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the album that had The Band on it, which right now is at like 250 million streams on Spotify.
Yeah.
One of your biggest songs, once again.
So the man, yeah. The Man was a huge song. I was really excited about the success of the song, and it wouldn't have happened, I don't think, without Larry Jackson, John Eman, and really the direct support of Jimmy Iovine. So John Eman had a conversation with me after listening to the album before The Man was written and recorded, and said, "We love the album. Everything feels good. We just need a big song. We need a bigger song on this album. Something that has more impact, something more thematic." At the same time, Larry Jackson had the opportunity to introduce me to Dr. Dre. So Dr. Dre invited me to one of his suite at the Lakers game, and I sat next to Dre, and he was like, "I heard I Need a Dollar. I think it's a good song. I think you have, somewhere to go in this business. It's just people are looking for an artist who can be vulnerable, but also powerful." And I went back and I took that discussion, and I wrote The Man. I wrote this song that I felt has vulnerability and also has power. Because I start the song off with a lyric. I believe every lie that I ever told, paid for every heart that I ever stole, like with self-deprecation, right? Um, but by the time I get to the chorus, I'm believing in myself and I'm ready to be a champion. And that was definitely inspired by that meeting that Larry Jackson set up with Dr. Dre, and that was definitely inspired by that phone call I had with John Eman, telling me that I need a bigger theme, something that was much more powerful. Um, and then as they were trying to get radio play, I'm saying Larry and John was trying to get Interscope, the label, to push my song at radio. Um, they found an opportunity in Jimmy Iovine. So Larry called me up one night. He was at Jimmy's house and he said, "Yo, I want you to talk to Jimmy for a second." And Jimmy was like, "I love this song. Larry just played it for me and I want to put it in my commercial for Beats by Drake." And it was a huge campaign. Hear What You Want. Huge campaign. And I was lucky enough to have the song that was part of that campaign. And it skyrocketed, I think, the success of the song in a way that otherwise it wouldn't have had. And then it got a chance to get radio airplay because we had primetime TV commercials happening every night.
Yeah, that song's an anthem.
I feel like it is an anthem. I feel like it's one of those songs that fits right in there with AIM, affirmation, inspiration, motivation. It's what I do best when I'm ready to write a song and to present, my music.
Yeah, and speaking of anthems, you actually sang the national anthem at the halftime show in the NBA Finals in the 2016 when the Golden State played the Cavs.
Yes, I did. That was the last time I sang the national anthem at a sporting event. And since then, there's been so much controversy around the national anthem. And then in solidarity with Colin Kaepernick, I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna lay off of singing the song because I want for the NFL and I want the other entities to recognize this moment that he's calling for, the end of police brutality, for the respect of citizens within their neighborhoods that are being, treated inhumanely, really, by the system that's supposed to protect them.
Yeah, I mean, and now in 2020 with George Floyd and everything else like that, a lot of the stuff that Colin Kaepernick was being, crucified for, they're actually bringing back around and they're actually accepting.
Yeah, the murder of George Floyd by Minneapolis police is the example that ultimately led to so many more people joining this movement for Black Lives. I think it was very hard for a lot of allies to recognize how serious the issue was until they saw a video that went from beginning to end without any cuts of very clear murder. And so it makes all of those other instances much more believable to them, when in the past, the Black community has been saying police are brutal and they're killing us unfoundedly, when Black men, women, and children are unarmed. And so without a clear video that shows from beginning to end what happened, people would always, have a doubt. And I think now there's really this particular video and then the video of the police officers in Atlanta with, I believe his name is Rashad Brooks, all of that, and then Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia. It's unfortunate that these instances continue to happen, but I'm hopeful that now that more people are aware and becoming active, that some real significant change will happen. And that's what I've been on the phone in the past month with senators, representatives, legal experts, scholars who are studying the Supreme Court and these laws on how to transform qualified immunity, which is the Supreme Court doctrine that qualifies police to be immune from accountability. It is literally baked into our legal system such that lower courts do not try police officers because of that, it's a chilling effect on any lawyer who wants to bring a case because they're like, well, we're not even going to get anywhere because the Supreme Court says police are immune. And that's something that can be changed by our Congress. The House of Representatives have created a bill that eliminate this immunity for police. The Senate needs to pass that, and the White House needs to pass it. The roadblock that we're up against is that the White House says qualified immunity is a non-starter, and so does some of the Republican Senate. So what our goal is now is to transform the opinion of the Republican Senate and hopefully transform the opinion of the White House, because we've seen the White House flip-flop. So hopefully this is something they can flip-flop on.
Well, that brings me to your current project, which is Music Unites.
Yes. Music Unites.
Tell me about that.
Music Unites is an organization that offers free music programming to students, high school students throughout the country. I have been related to them through what they do in the Compton School District, specifically at Centennial High School. They invited me to come and sing and present to the students at Centennial High School. And I was able to share with them my history as an artist, how I came up, how I still went to college but did music, and how I engage as an artist and a businessman. This organization offers them these kinds of conversations with recording artists, but also music programming so they can learn instruments and learn about the music industry from all different angles. This organization is the kind of organization that is supporting Black lives. So when you have an organization like Black Lives Matter, what does that mean? It means, one, police need to treat us with respect and not demonize and incarcerate so heavily. But it also means municipalities need to offer more support and services. Educational services, job services, healthcare services. All of these things need to go into supporting Black lives where they've been defunded or restricted. And there's some systemic racist policies that existed in housing with redlining, with loans offered, that play into the wealth distribution of today. And the reason why ultimately schools have to remove funding from arts programs that lead to nonprofit organizations like Music Unites having to bring that arts program back into the school. So Music Unites is really firmly, I think, in the position of improving Black lives, because they are in historically marginalized communities where there's been a divestment of resources. And so for me, it's just part of what I'm doing as a supporter in the movement for Black lives. I think Music Unites is creating an awareness of opportunity where ultimately students probably have felt as though they haven't had opportunity. And so it's huge. I think it's a huge chance for kids to get involved in music and not just be like, oh, I want to be a rapper or a singer. Oh, I could be an A&R. I can be an engineer. I can be an executive. I can be a producer. And there's so many different angles.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting point because, like you, I went to college. I went to UC Berkeley and got a computer science degree. Music was just a hobby for me. I was making beats and so forth on the side. And, I played around. I was a break dancer. And at one point I realized I wasn't going to be Dr. Dre. I wasn't going to be DJ Premier. But I was actually pretty good at DJing, which eventually led me into doing interviews and so forth. But going to college was so key, I feel, to my success, because Vlad TV is as much of a tech company as it is a media company. And just like you, I think a lot of kids feel like, well, if I'm going to do music, I'm going to drop out of high school and I'm just going to do it full time. And a lot of times it doesn't work out. You end up having to work minimum wage jobs for the rest of your life. But I think it's so important to see someone like yourself who went to college, who worked in the corporate world, who was grinding out year after year and eventually got those platinum plaques and those world tours and everything else like that. It just shows an alternate way to what people think should happen. And like you just said, you don't have to be a singer. You don't have to be a rapper or a producer. You could be a manager. You could start your own label. You could be an interviewer. You could do so many other things from your love of music than just what you think you should be doing or what sounds cool at parties.
Exactly. There are so many different angles in this music business. My team right now, working for me, they are part of the music industry, right? So they help set up my meetings. They help to hire the right musicians that I'm working with wherever I happen to be. I've got a lot of musicians in Los Angeles that I work with, musicians in Australia and Europe. They help on the technical side with setting up my music videos, some of it with editing, some of it with post-production. And all of these things are necessary. So there's a lot of facets. And then once you get from there, I've been trying to train them on the publishing side. Like, how does publishing work? What does the music synchronization side look like when my songs go on television, in a TV commercial, or in a film? All of that. There's so many different angles. And that is ultimately where Music Unites can come in to help spread that knowledge and give students an idea of where else they can go within the industry.
Yeah, and such a dope example of perseverance. Starting out a rapper, like a traditional rapper, and ending up more of a folk singer.
Yeah.
At your current situation. It just shows that if you keep working at it, you keep grinding away, you stay in the studio, you keep experimenting, you keep trying out different things, sooner or later you will hit your stride and you'll get in your bag. And here you are with millions of records sold, songs and movies and TV shows and commercials and international hits outside the US. A lot of people just look at the US as the only market. You've shown how you can get bigger outside the US and then it'll bleed into the US later on.
That's exactly one of the things I try to tell artists who ask me, what should I do? How do I get to where you're at? I say, first of all, you have to love what you're doing. So don't do it if you're just trying to be famous, because that's not the way to really engage this business. You want to look at all of the possibilities within the US and outside of the US. And I'm so grateful that I had a chance to start my career really outside the US, because I think the fans last longer, the respect lasts longer, and I'll continue to have an income stream from multiple countries where I can go perform, especially when lockdown is over, and continue to have a growing career into my gray-haired years that ultimately I don't think I would be able to have in the US in the same way. The metabolism for artists' life cycle here is so short. It's super short in hip hop. So I was glad that I was able to graduate out of that into singing. And I think singing as a vocalist is going to be much longer of a career, but certainly having the respect and experience in other countries is going to help the longevity of my career.
Well, Aloe Blacc, man, I appreciate you sharing your story. Such a dope catalog, between I Need a Dollar to The Man to, Don't Wake Me Up.
Yeah.
Such a dope catalog of timeless music. Not these one hits that 6 months later nobody wants to hear again. Just anthems that will really last past our lifetimes, which is what I think every artist strives for. And I think you've achieved at this point. So yeah. Congratulations. And I appreciate you, taking the time with me.
Thank you so much. Thanks for giving me your time.
No doubt, man. All the best.
Take care.
Peace.